Welcome to Consulting Mastery, where we help B2B consultants master the business of consulting. I'm Carrie.
And I'm Ahmed. Join us as we explore the art of delivering outstanding client value, earning a higher income, and thriving in today's marketplace. All right, let's talk about expertise. What is it? Who needs it? How much do you need? Do you have enough? How to get more? All that and more coming up in this episode of Consulting Mastery. If you are curious if we can help you build and grow your consulting business, go to 90daypipeline.com/talk. Grab a call. We'll find out. Let's talk about expertise. Carrie.
Yes.
You already told me up front you're going to argue with me. Should we just get into the argument?
Sure, let's do it.
Should I state my position first of all?
State your position.
So this question comes up a lot. The questions around expertise, both from folks who are looking to get into consulting and folks who are already running a consulting business. And the question that we get from folks who want to get into consulting is, well, how do I know I have enough expertise to become a consultant? And the question that we get from folks who are already consulting sounds different, but it's really the same. It sounds like, how do I raise my fees? How do I charge more money? How do I create more value for clients? Why don't clients respect me the way that I think that they should? This, that, and the other, but all kind of, revolving around the question of, do I have enough expertise to get to the next level? And I'm going to state my contention right up front, which is that your opinion about your own expertise is largely irrelevant. And I'll explain why. You are afflicted, like many other human beings, with this thing called imposter syndrome. And so you have this built-in mechanism that tries to protect you and keep you safe, that makes you question your abilities and your expertise and what you're worth. Other people don't have that about you. I don't have imposter syndrome for Carrie. I have it for myself. So I can be more objective about Carrie's expertise, given that I'm not Carrie, but I can be about my own expertise.
And I'll argue with you in a minute, but tell me more about why that's important. What does that get you?
Well, so having expertise and believing in your expertise are two different things, both very important. First of all, having a high degree of expertise is what a consulting business is built on. This notion of being the brain, not the pair of hands we talked about in the last episode, I believe. When you have insight and expertise, you can monetize that as a consultant. And the more insight and expertise that you have, the more expensive you become. So you can directly correlate your level of expertise with your income. All else equal. There are other things that can affect your income, but assuming everything else stays the same, if your expertise goes up, you stand a chance to make more money. And believing in your expertise is, frankly, equally as important as having expertise. Because clients and prospects in the marketplaces, they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. We live in a world where another consultant is a click away. One of the the more entertaining things that we like to do in consultations with folks is, if they say they're a management consultant, we'll go on LinkedIn and search for management consultant and guess how many hits come up. Or they say I'm a procurement consultant. We go and search for a procurement consultant, see how many hits come up, and it's usually tens of thousands. So from a prospect perspective, you might claim to have some expertise, but just know that a click away is potentially thousands of other people that have the same claim. So how do you convey to a prospect that you actually do have expertise above and beyond what the marketplace brings to the table if you don't actually believe in your expertise? You're not drinking your own Kool-Aid, in other words.
So anyone who thought they were going to get a fight just saw Ahmed fight my side and
Oh, did I?
come to the conclusion. Yes.
Did I just argue for you?
Your original statement was what you think of your expertise is largely unimportant.
Ah.
But talking through, and my argument was going to be, it is important, but maybe not for the reason you think. So we got there. And I agree with you 100%. Because what matters in the market is that the prospects see your specific expertise. And let's talk about what that means, right? Because procurement consultant is not an expertise, as you're alluding to. But if you don't have a level of confidence in your expertise, you're going to have a really difficult time out there in the world talking about what you do in a way that's compelling.
So I basically contradicted myself, didn't I? Because I said your opinion doesn't matter, but you got to. So what I mean by that is, if you question your expertise, that's not the be all and end all.
Yes.
Right. Your questioning of your expertise doesn't invalidate your expertise. What it does tell me is that either you do have some room to grow, possible, true for most of us. I mean, everyone's got room to grow, or you just need to develop more belief in your expertise. But the questioning of it doesn't invalidate it, is I think the point I was trying to make.
Absolutely. And if I look at the other side of it, there is some value in the questioning, right? To your point. If you are so arrogant that you presume you know it all, right? If you presume you know all the things, and it isn't that black and white, we can talk about that, right? That is also a very dangerous place to be. Questioning if there is more that you can learn, questioning if there are different approaches you can take, questioning if you have really landed in the sweet spot of what is going to impact your clients the most. Those are excellent questions to ask. The trick is to separate the objective questioning from the spiral of self-doubt that human beings tend to get themselves into.
And remember the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? And I just pulled up the Wikipedia definition for those of you who are not familiar. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias in which people with limited competence in a particular domain overestimate their abilities.
Armchair quarterbacks all day.
What this means is the people with like sky high confidence who never question their ability or their expertise are the ones with the most limited ability and expertise. They don't know enough to understand what they don't know. What you will find among actual bona fide experts is that they know what they know, and they know what they don't know, and they don't proclaim to be experts in everything, right? And this is why positioning is so important, right? Because a lot of people ask us, like, how can I level up my expertise and improve, the perception of my expertise in the marketplace? Quite often, part of the answer is narrowing your focus. Because I don't know how to make you an expert in everything. So I use myself as an example quite often. I'm a pretty good marketer. Many would argue, right? Now, am I like the best marketer in the world? Well, there's a lot of competition for that title. And I don't know I can make that claim, right? There's a lot of really smart marketers out there. However, am I one of the best, near the top of the list in terms of marketing for consulting professional services? I can make that claim. I can make a pretty strong claim at that. That's a narrow focus. That's my entire career. All I know is consulting professional services, a couple of decades so far and counting, right? Built the most significant, largest program to help consultants, professional service providers with marketing and business development. So I have a lot of claims in that space, but not marketing at large. When the scope broadens, it becomes harder to claim and demonstrate improved expertise. And when the scope narrows, it becomes a whole lot easier.
Well, and something that's interesting about that, just as you were talking about it, is if I told you, actually, Ahmed, you need to compete with all of the marketers, how does your imposter syndrome feel?
Well, I'm arrogant, so I'm like,
oh, okay, fair. So, but worse, right?
No, in all seriousness, no, yeah. Then all of a sudden, it's like, well, oof. I mean, look, I remember back in the day when I was first getting started, and I started running advertising, and I was a talking head, and I had all these stories in my head around, well, I'm not as articulate as so and so, and I can't speak on camera like so and so, and this, that, and the other. And that's what would happen if I had to compete with everybody. all the top marketers in the world, I'm going to look at all of them and make a list of all the things that I can't do or I don't have that they have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's go to what it means to have narrowed niche positioning. But before we go there, the point that I really want to highlight here is that that isn't just for the market. Narrowing your positioning, getting super clear on your niche is also going to allow you to wake up every morning and feel more competent, right? About what it is that you do. Because you are not now, swimming in this gigantic pond of everybody who does everything. You are talking specifically about the value you bring to the particular people that you serve who have a particular problem. And you know that, like all of you listening, it might take you a while to get there and figure it out and figure out how to describe it. But when you are in that zone, that's when you know that you're having impact, right? That's when you know that you're at the top of not just your game, but the top of the game.
Yeah. Today I talked to a consultant, and I know there's not a whole lot they're going to throw at me that I haven't heard before after now talking to, we've mentored and graduated almost 1,000, if not 1,000. And I personally talked to, coached, and mentored thousands. So what am I going to hear that I haven't heard before? And there's a confidence that comes with that versus, give me somebody who runs an e-commerce store.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a marketer, so I'll figure some things out, right? But I'm largely out of place. There's so much I don't know about e-commerce, and that's going to show in my confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about what a narrow niche looks like. And I want to have that conversation because we have people come to us every day and they're sure they have already narrowed their market, right? Or their offer. They're sure they've got it. And then we have a 10-minute conversation with them and they walk away realizing that, oof, nope, not really. So how would you define maybe the myths behind, right? Or the ways you can get yourself into trouble when you are determining what your market is, what your offer is?
Well, here's a really easy litmus test. How many competitors or alternatives do you have?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at your market and you look at your service and you ask yourself honestly, how many other alternatives do my clients have to working with me? Like viable alternatives. They do the same thing that I do. And if the answer is, we could debate the number, but if the answer is like more than 10, I'm uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Me personally, and there, not to say that you can't compete in a market where there's 10, 15, 20 competitors, but if I look at my market and I see more than 10 viable alternatives, I am very uncomfortable competing in that market. I want to see as few viable alternatives. And when I say viable, what I mean is, in our market, as an example, there are many alternatives. And we see them largely as subpar for our clients, mm-hmm. for the ones that we serve, in which, we won't get into an extensive discussion about that right now. But for our clients who are a good fit with us, there are not many viable alternatives to working with us. There are compromising alternatives. I'm not counting those. So if I see a lot of viable alternatives, that makes me very uncomfortable. So that's a good question to ask. If you see a lot of viable alternatives, more than 10, frankly, more than 5, that's problematic.
And I just want to jump in there because I think it's relevant to talk about what compromised alternatives means, because what we're not talking about is people who are out there doing a bad job at something necessarily. Yes, those people exist. What we're talking about are the people who are not in alignment with my client, right? Our clients. And so it's not about, am I better than, am I worse than? It's about, am I the right person for? Of course, excellence plays into it, certainly. But when you talk about like a compromised alternative, often what it is someone who is spectacular and someone who will send people to, right? Someone who we will refer because we'll say, you know what? We're not the best fit for you, but this other solution probably will be. Take a look. And so I think that's also an important thing, because there's this other danger or, kind of risk that comes with consultants who just don't feel like they're good enough, right? That they're not perfect enough, that they haven't, solved all the problems, when in reality it is exactly what we're talking about here. It's about fit.
Well, and it's a vicious cycle, right? So if you don't feel like you're good enough, if you question your expertise, you question how rare, valuable, and specialized your expertise is, and then you maintain a broad focus and you do all kinds of things for all kinds of clients, that does nothing to sharpen and hone in your expertise. And then it's a vicious cycle. And unfortunately, we've seen consultants who have been consulting for 10, 20, 30 years, kind of stuck at the same revenue level. They make 100K, they make 200K, they make 300K, whatever it may be, goes up and down. All their business is being referred to them by a very small network of people. It's all kinds of clients, all kinds of problems, a dog's breakfast of a track record, and, not a case study to show for it, or not a meaningful one. And that's, listen, if you got the network to sustain that, it's not a bad way to make a living. Like, you'll do okay. It's not a very good business.
Well, and what you notice when you talk to those people is they're tired, right? They are not having fun. And I don't want to undersell how important that is. If you started your own consultancy or professional services business, you did it because you want to play by your rules. You want to work with the people you want to work with. You want to solve the problems you want to solve. And those are the ones that, make you feel great at the end of the day. Doing something else that you don't have much passion for, that you can do, but you maybe know there's someone someone out there who can do it better because they're more specialized in that area. That does not make for, putting your head in the pillow at night and feeling really great about how things went.
The funny thing about consultants and professional service folks is they tend to think that the laws of business don't apply to them.
Yeah.
And there are particulars to running a consulting professional services business. Obviously, we built an entire business around those particulars. So I'm not saying it's like anything else. It is unique. It is distinct. But there's certain fundamental laws of business that just apply to all businesses if you want to succeed. And one of those laws is, I've never seen any successful business grow without doing one thing really well and really consistently. I just haven't seen it. Tesla churned out Model S's for a really long time, one car, before they expanded their product line. McDonald's made really good hamburgers for a long time before they launched milkshakes. Go down the list, right? Apple, Microsoft, like all these companies did one thing really, really well in the early formative stages of their business and achieved scale through that one thing, one product, one offer, one solution, and then expanded their product line and entered new markets when they'd achieved a level of maturity that enabled them to do so. Yet the average consultant has five products and 3 different target markets. And, if you're a solo consultant, where do you get off having 3 target markets? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. If you had an investor that was investing in you and you said to them, well, we've got 3 target markets and I'm one person, they would run for the hills and put their money elsewhere because that doesn't make any sense.